I was made fun of when I left. People thought I was crazy leaving a six-figure job, and this is 20 years ago, plus bonus and commission and everything else, to make much less and work much harder that first year. I got laughed at. What's funny, as a year goes by, a lot of my old colleagues had contacted me, taking a look at franchises. So it's a great story. But I will say, for everyone listening, it is a lot of work. There's definitely an investment. There's definitely a risk. There's none of this, you're guaranteed anything. It's a business. There's going to be risk, or else it wouldn't be called a business. Uh,
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Alight Marketing. Here with us, another great guest, Giuseppe. It doesn't happen often in US. Meet someone else with such Italian names, but I'm super happy for this. It's actually really funny, and I'm really happy to be able to interview this great person. What we like, Giuseppe Grammatico is he's your franchise guy. He he helps people find a way to build franchise, also to enter in that type of investment. Obviously, we are here to know more about him. Like you guys, I don't know everything about him, and that's why we are interviewing him, right? Please, Giuseppe, present yourself and also let us know, how did you got to where you got? Like, how did you enter the franchise world, and how did you decide to do what you do to do?
awesome, yeah, Giuseppe. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And yes, when I saw the name, I'm like, wow, you don't hear the name often. It's Joseph or Joe in English, and most people don't realize it. And there's a huge difference there. But I appreciate you inviting me on the show. And yeah, I got into franchising. Maybe I'll work in reverse. I was in corporate America, right? I was the first person in my family to go to college, and growing up, we owned an Italian restaurant in New Jersey, central New Jersey, and a lot of nights, a lot of weekends. I loved working there, but the hours really weren't the right fit. And I took the opportunity and said, you know what? I was living at home, went to school, got my undergrad at Rider University, took a corporate job, didn't like it, went back to school, got my MBA at Rider University, and realized I did not like being a corporate employee. I didn't like all the politics. You had 25 different managers above you. I had great pay, great income, but I just wasn't happy. I had a very long commute. So I went back to my roots and said, okay, well, we're a family of business owners. Why don't I look there? And I knew I didn't want to go back into the restaurant space. So I started exploring different businesses, and I decided back in 2005, so 20 years ago, to reach out to a franchise consultant, which is what I do today. And they opened up the world to franchising. This idea of owning a business in a box, a business on training wheels. And I fell in love with it. I've been franchising, full-time business ownership and franchising for 20 years. Prior to that, I always had side hustles, detailing cars and landscaping and things like that. But just love the world of franchising. Love how you can open up a business relatively quickly. And I decided 7 years ago to. I've been doing this for 20 years, but full time 7 years ago, to say, you know what, I want to dedicate my career in helping people get into business ownership, and getting people to avoid business ownership at the same time, for people that think it's kind of this easy, you just throw a couple bucks down and the business runs itself. So really, I'm in the education space, if for lack of a better, I guess, industry. It's really education and empowering people to hire themselves.
When I heard franchise, for my first thought was, okay. First of all, I have to say, I'm not surprised that your family comes from Italian, like has Italian as their own Italian restaurant. I was like, if it's Italian, I feel like everyone Italian that I met with a background Italian here in US, somehow their family own like a restaurant, a pizzeria, something like that. It was like, in fact, I was like, if my business doesn't work, I can just open a restaurant. Sounds like it works. Like, if I know enough about how to bring some good food from Italy, I have my parents still in Italy. I always get my olive oil and things from Italy. I don't buy here. And I was like, I can just bring some stuff from there and just making some Italian food really fast. But that was the best. I was like, it was funny because like it's a stereotype, but it's kind of like it's the most true. Like there is a like high percentage that like if your family came from Italy, probably they own own a restaurant.
There is, and I fall in there, so I definitely add to those percentages. But yeah, it was a lot of immigrants in New York, New Jersey that immigrate a lot, specifically Southern Italy, Sicily, where my family is originally from. My first language actually was Italian. I learned English at the age of 6. So yeah, it was a great story. But yeah, a lot of migration, and they wanted to bring those cultures back. With there's a debate which food is better and changes. It's Italian food with an American twist, an American flair, and New York style versus Neapolitan pizza. There's always these debates, and it's really what you grew up with at the end of the day. But yeah, it was fun. I definitely miss those days.
I mean, yeah, and even in that things, I would say, you know, it's a different type of pizza. It's like when you also go in Italy and you have like Napolitan type pizza, you have Sicilian type pizza, you have Caserta. Like even in Naples area, like Caserta type of pizza is a bit different. You go Rome, they do pizza a little bit different. Yeah, Rome style. That's why like at the end, like I think as long you specify what style you're going for and you do good, it's fine. It's when you're trying to say like, "This is Napolitan pizza," and then doesn't taste, it doesn't look at all like a Napolitan pizza. That's where we get in the trouble. That's where people get in trouble with me.
Yes, no, I listen, I agree. If you're gonna call it that, follow there's some rules to be followed in order to call it that. But yes, I absolutely agree. So we're on the same page.
Exactly. And honestly, I was in New York. I enjoyed New York pizza. It was amazing. I actually was the closest I could get when I was stuck for a few years in US, could not go back because I was waiting for my visa. And was the closest I could get to do Italian feeling, like pizza flavors and things. Like was just flying to New York, spend a few days there, fill myself up with pizza and Italian food that tastes closer to real Italian food, and then go back to Colorado because there, once you get the middle US and West, there's nothing that's even close to. There's not much close to Italian food.
I agree.
But with that, going back to the franchise world, one thing that's funny because I feel like for people that follow, like like I'm in acquisition. I just entered this year. I really felt God pushed me towards like, hey, start to acquire business and buy business. And I'm also focused in e-commerce, but like in that world, I noticed that a lot of basketball players, football players, and everything. When you ask them how they made wealth or how they use the wealth after playing, many of them go to the franchising. Like you hear them like Shaq, for example. You hear him, it's like, oh, I own like I don't know 20 Papa Joe's. I own like this franchise. I own this franchise. This franchise. Like none of them they went into a like business standalone. They all own a franchise, and kind of like I'm curious to speak with you about that because I want to understand if you know what is the reason why this type of people decide to go for a franchise instead of like say I don't know let own an IT company or SaaS company.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think Shaq recently even launched his own chicken franchise. So, which is great. One word: systems. If you read the book, if you've ever read the book, the E Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, it talks about two different types of people. Talks about the technician. Maybe it's the plumber that knows his trade, but has no idea how to run a business. They're the technician actually doing the work, which is totally fine. You need someone to do the actual work itself. So systems are the biggest thing. How can you invest millions of dollars and open up 10 different locations or different types of service businesses? So those systems are replicatable. They can easily replicate them across the board. You can invest. You can put a general manager in each location, and there's franchises in just about every industry. In the U.S. alone, there's 4,000 options, and in those options, 70 plus industries. So anything from dog waste removal to business coaching to eyelash extensions to food. There's really a franchise in just about every industry.
Yeah, and then how would you say the only things that for me always was thinking, because I've been thinking about franchise. I mean, there's two questions right to my things like, what is the investment I need to do to open a franchise? Like, let's say I start with no money. So, like, I mean, NBA player and everything, they have millions of dollars. Like, they probably can. They don't have to think about like a loan and everything. They can just check it out, write the check, and buy a franchise, right? Because even I look onto Popeyes, for example. Let's say I want to open a Popeyes store, right? It's gonna cost me like, I think it was like half a million, over half a million to put it down a stores and everything, right? Then how, yeah, how like if a person normal, like let's say myself or like any, even like they don't have anything right now, they don't have the money or the capacity things, can they enter the franchise world? Or like they need to have something?
Yeah, you need to. This is I always say a business. This isn't a kind of no money down scenario. You need to have skin in the game, as with any business. And just to be very clear, I've been doing this for over 20 years now. Franchise is not the right fit for everyone. But a lot of people, when they think of franchising, they'll think of food and the McDonald's and $1 million investments and things like that. Ultimately, the way to look at a franchise is number one, there's a business model in in just about every industry. There are brands all in you're under 100,000, and you can get into the multi-million-dollar investment range once you get into like a trampoline park, or depending how extensive of a build out of a gym, just say. So the big differentiator between a startup and a franchise is the franchise fee. With the franchise, you still have marketing just like you do with your startup. You still have employees, working cap. You have all that stuff. So when you look at the major difference, it's the franchise fee, and those franchise fees, assuming apples to apples, we'll look at a single location or a single a territory. Just say for like a painting franchise, you're looking in the area of just say 10 to 60,000. It's a one time fee, which isn't cheap. But what you're getting, for that is essentially you pay the franchise fee again, that 10, 20, up to 60,000 once, and you have access to the entire system that the franchisor has spent years on and potentially millions of dollars perfecting and learning on their own. So that's the major difference. It's the opportunity cost of a startup where you're figuring everything out on your own, the vendors, negotiating rates. That could take years and years. You could literally buy a franchise, just say in cybersecurity, a franchise in painting, and be up and running in 90 days or less. So that speed to open, the systems that are put in place, the policies, procedures, that's the stuff that takes a lot of money and time. So a $50,000 franchise fee, maybe it doesn't cost you as much to do it on your own, but is it as robust? How long did it take? But realistically, when you're looking at a franchise, a good range is just under 100,000 to anywhere in that $1 million range once you get into a standalone building, and usually it includes your franchise fee, that one fee, and then it includes about 90 days to get launched, the training and everything involved to get up and running.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that's great information. I feel like uh, even this podcast is teaching me, is because I am obviously I look into franchise a bit, but never had the opportunity. And now being with you, another question I think that comes part of my curiosity of really understanding the franchising world, like because like there you speak with people and they're like, "Oh, no franchise. Like franchise is not good. You don't have freedom. You don't make enough money." And then you get the other side. They're like, "I love franchise." And then obviously again, I say I found all players, soccer player, football player, any type of player, like just going into franchising. Like they don't even care about. Maybe they do later on, or maybe they feel that they have like maybe their own standing or own business, but they mostly prefer franchising. Uh, and that's why I was like, I really want to understand because, like, I mean, why they make those choices, why they prefer do that. And I understand some is like if you have the money they have, it can be part of have a system already created. You can put a manager there, pay the manager, and then you still get money, like like the net profit, whatever comes out of it, and you don't have had to do much work where. And does it change from business to business of how much they help you as a franchise, or like the franchise are pretty much all the same?
Now it's 4,000 franchise companies. They're not all built the same and they're all different, even in the same industry. So, mosquito spraying, is a popular one. One franchise may have you out there, spraying and doing all the work. The other one will have you part-time, and just doing the marketing. So it really depends on the franchise itself. Actually, I'm gonna it's really the background is so yeah, it really depends on the actual, franchise itself. So with all the franchise, opportunities out there, I always encourage people when you're looking at a franchise, look for that match. Look for the brand that fits what you're looking for, checks off all the boxes, not necessarily the industry and the brands we find afterwards, because two exact companies that offer the exact same service may have you run it a little bit differently. And the support is not equal. Some brands will give you more of a template. Other brands will There's a brand that we work with here that will not only train you, but then a coach is assigned to you, and they go out with you, and they get your first few accounts. They go in your first few sales calls. They will hire your first couple employees, maybe a general manager if needed. They'll even this is a painting concept. They'll actually go to Sherman Williams and Benjamin Moore and set up those vendor relationships, and let's just take care of it right then and there, as opposed to remembering what you learned from training and then you forget it. So I think there's absolutely brands that completely, stand out. Some brands offer turnkey marketing, and those leads get sent to a call center, so that you are essentially having your calendar's full of appointments for the entire week. So you're going to see less of that on B2B franchises like cybersecurity and business coaching. That is a smaller investment. Different strategy. Instead of spending the money on marketing, maybe you're spending that money on breakfast meetings, going out to the Chamber of Commerce and working with small businesses to say, hey, we offer this solution, this cybersecurity solution. We offer this solution of helping you cut back on your expense. This is what it looks like, as opposed to putting money in the SEO and marketing engine, which is nothing wrong with. You're still going to do that, but those tend to have a smaller amount allocated there, whereas it's a lot more on the referral basis and kind of those individual one-on-one meetings.
Okay, then just now asking you directly, like, do you own franchising also, or like, or now you just do consulting?
Right now, I've owned non-franchise businesses, and I sold my last franchise. I owned that over 13 years back in 2020, and we are actively exploring another franchise. One of the benefits I get as a franchise consultant is I get to talk with the brand's founders, CEOs. I could just pick up the phone and talk to just about anyone, so I kind of have my finger on the pulse as to what is doing well. It also has to do well in your state, right? So really understanding that business, how it works. Each state has different kind of workings, what is allowed, licensing requirements, and things like that. But I am actively looking for potentially another franchise by the end of the year.
Okay, nice. That's a lot of great information. And also like one thing that I understood, like sometimes they make feel like that if you do franchising might be less work and like because you can put a manager, it's more like passive, almost passive income. But obviously you have what I understood depends always what is your investment. Like if you're starting with zero and you have to go to the smaller like franchise where you can invest just 50,000 or 60,000, you need help from a consultant because you have to understand where do you want to put your effort. Some they have you put effort in the marketing, other they make you put effort in the
Right.
giving the doing the work, doing the service, and you have to make a decision there. That's pretty. I mean, that's something good to know, and I understand even more why I need people like you very much.
Yeah, so what I actually do is I help people figure out if a franchise is a good fit. What's your why? Why are you doing this? Have you owned the business? There's a ton of education along with it, kind of what to expect. So we talked about investment. That's going to be a piece. Another piece of that is funding options. So yes, 100,000, 200,000. I don't know a lot of people that have that kind of money lying around, just like myself. I didn't have the full amount when I purchased my first franchise, so we looked at a loan. I did a personal loan for my nonna. It was a kind of a last minute. Originally, the bank there was a miscommunication. The bank approved me, and last minute they found out that I left my job they didn't realize I was leaving my job. Although I spoke with that bank and told them exactly what I was doing. Someone forgot to enter that into the file, so they turned around and denied me. So last minute, grandparents kind of I had to get a personal loan, and it was unfortunate, but it worked out for everyone. So I really figure out what you're looking to accomplish. Going back to the celebrities you mentioned, Shaq and others, we'll look back. What are you looking to create? What kind of money do you have? What type of time commitment? I don't really believe, unless you're the Shaqs of the world, or some celebrities where you have a whole team in place and they're helping to run the business. It's going to be a little bit different. But for the most part, to set the expectation to the average business owner, average person listening in, either you're going to be full time or you're going to be part time or semi absentee. Semi absentee, all that means is you can potentially keep your job and run the business side by side, maybe eventually transition full time. Not every franchise allows that, and the franchises that do, you want to make sure they have the support in there to, either help you find that general manager that you're going to need in place, and kind of set the expectations on the roles and who's going to do what. But other brands will have full time ownership where they will require you to be full time at least the first 6 months to a year. The coach that they assign to you also kind of works as a coach consultant where they'll review the marketing with you, and maybe it needs to be tweaked a little bit. So you look at the marketing KPIs. If the average lead flow is 100 leads a month and that's what you're getting, but the close ratio is 50% and you're at 20, what is the issue? Well, the issue is two things. It's the salesperson, or it's the lead quality, and the prospects you're working with. So maybe there needs to be some type of changes there in the ads that you're running, maybe retraining the salesperson and things like that. So they'll really hone in on those KPIs. See, what's the issue? Is it profitability? Is it number of leads? Let's really break it down. And are you utilizing your leads and customers, I should say, for referrals, right? For referral doesn't typically cost anything. And if someone is happy with your service, they're more than glad to refer you. But are you actively, following up and things like that? So yeah, it's really fun. I get to learn a lot about people. I get to tell people if I feel like they're a good fit for franchising or not. Certain brands, there's a lot of autonomy, but they don't realize, they think it's more of a set and forget it system. And I go, it really isn't. You're still working a ton of hours, just like a startup. You have an advantage. I call it the unfair advantage in my book, where you have the system in place. You still have to follow the system, but the goal is to be up and running faster, to profitability faster, so that you can take that back seat and maybe run it semi absentee with the appropriate team in place.
Okay, no, that makes really clear. Another thing, I think probably at this point, one of the question people is gonna ask is like, okay, I want to find you. Obviously, we're gonna put all your information in the description of this video that people can connect with you. But like, what does cost me to start with you? How I'm gonna start it?
That's yeah, that's the best part, and, I don't talk about it a lot, but the best part of our fees is there's 0 fee and there's 0 contracts, to work with us. We are compensated just like a real estate agent. So when you buy a home, you don't pay anything. The seller is the one paying. So in our case, if we work together and you buy a franchise, that specific franchise will pay us a referral fee. So just like a real estate agent or executive recruiter. So nothing to work together. The only investment is it's time. And I jokingly say I had someone working with me and they only had an hour once a month. They were really tight on time. And I said, you know what? Everything you said to me signaled perfect fit for franchising. But if we don't have an hour a month to speak, probably a franchise or any business is probably not a good fit until you figure out how to get control of your calendar. And in this person's case, and I'm not going to name names or companies, I recommended quitting their job and finding a local job in their state, as avoiding that commute, something part time, something that was a little bit more flexible, maybe even a 1099 type of job, to still bring in some income, maybe not the same amount of income, but to allow themselves to open it up. If they eventually want to own a business anyway, why not make it a little bit easier? But it's ultimately, I tell everyone, they're in the driver's seat. They decide. My job is to educate you. Let's figure out if the franchise is a good fit. What does the ideal franchise look like? So a lot of people think you need experience to own a McDonald's. You don't need food industry experience, but you may need management experience. That's that transferable skill set. So whether it's a restoration franchise, whether it's a McDonald's, whether it's a dog waste removal, you're going to need some leadership, some management experience. They will basically teach you the rest. And then we educate on, questions to ask, where to find funding sources, where to find a franchise attorney, and all those. Again, everything I do from here on out, and even I get calls years and years later. Yeah, hey, I need a little help here. I'm looking at another franchise. My cost structure has never changed, so there's never a cost. I'm not going away anytime soon.
With that, I mean, that makes much easier for people. Means they can book time and ask question. But then like what you say, it's ROI because obviously you told, for example, that person before you told him like, hey, leave your job, maybe find something part time, and but then well, when I think about that, leaving my job, and I'm thinking like, okay, to start this, how fast I gonna be start making money. Like you say, it takes about in 90 days you can be up and running on the franchise, but like if that means I'm gonna make money at that point, or like how I'm gonna live.
Yeah, so in service-based businesses, the investment's going to be lower. You're going to have to factor in your expense. So one thing the franchisor does is they'll come back and we can't, they can give you historical data basically. So the franchisor can give you averages of what the first year top franchisees are doing, maybe a range of what to expect the first year. It's very easy to estimate the expenses. You usually have a low and high range. I always go on the side on the side of caution because I want to, just assume everything is going to be more expensive. And if there's any, not hidden costs, but some surprises as I'm going about this. So let's look at, okay, what are the expenses? And if the average customer is worth 500 in revenue and my cost is 5,000, I know exactly, okay, I need, 10 customers every month to at least break even to cover all my costs. So the franchisor will give you kind of a pro forma. You can plug and play, what the information that you see is relevant. You're going to get to speak with franchisees. From a cash flow perspective, certain brands, you're launched with your calendar full of appointments. That doesn't mean income, right? That means potential revenue. And something like a painting business, you can quote a customer on a Monday and paint the home by the end of the week and get paid. So those could potentially cash flow faster. Again, if it's a W-2 model where you have staff or a contractor model, that contractor model will give you a little bit of an advantage since they get paid after the job is acquired, completed, and paid for. So that is going to protect your cash flow. But there are franchisees that are able to become profitable relatively quickly. So 90 days to launch. Have I heard of people becoming profitable in the first 6 months? Absolutely. And then others, it's over a year. I did notice that most people don't understand what profitability means. That's another topic for another day. But I know that a lot of business owners don't understand financials and the specific terms. So they'll say, "Well, I didn't make money my first 2 years," but you look at their net income and they were profitable and they paid themselves. Maybe they didn't pay themselves a salary, but they had a net income. What they decided to do is they had savings aside. They decided to reinvest back in the business. So if you made 100,000 in net income and reinvested it all back in the system, you still made 100,000 in net income. You're putting that back into the business. Maybe you're buying another truck and marketing and things like that. But yeah, I would say B2C businesses, home services, they tend to cash flow a lot quicker. Once you get into B2B, maybe you're working with municipalities or the or the government. It's a longer sales process, and on top of that, the payment terms you're going to have to wait, dealing with insurance companies and things like that. But certain businesses, the quick and easy, the painting, the mosquito spraying, the roofing, you're in and out. And unless insurance is involved, you're paid relatively quickly. So really, it's up to you how lean you want to keep it. If you can run a business full time, like I did, I quit my job. My wife was still working. We were just starting a family. I scaled the business relatively quickly because I had the time to learn the business, which is a new business for me, scale it. And no one, in my opinion, is going to run the business like the owner. No one's going to not necessarily care, but really give it all they have to get the business up and running.
what was your first choice then? Like, how did you? Which was your first franchise you started with?
Yeah, so we were in the building services, so we maintained buildings. So that was commercial only. So in dealing with working in municipalities, maintaining their properties and things like that, that was a longer sales cycle. We didn't have a lot of costs because it was a contractor style type of model where the contractors brought their own equipment and things like that. So the contractors brought the employees, did all the work and things like that. On our end, the sales cycle was a little bit longer. A municipality, for example, required multiple bids and then different payment terms that we were normally used to. So we work with all different types of businesses. We doubled down on healthcare, so we did a lot of work for healthcare. It was a necessity business. We call it more of a recession-resistant type of business, where we maintained their properties, redid their floors, and cleaned and painted, and just about everything else.
Well, that I for everyone listening this, I think like is like an easy 30 minutes lesson on franchising and some of the things that are connected to it. If people are thinking making that decision, I was one of that. I'm one of that person. I've been thinking about franchising. I'm probably gonna connect with you even later because I want to actually know more about it. But moving from that, something let's go a bit back.
Sure.
Like I want to really understand your why. It's like, okay, I understand. Like, I mean, you tried different things. You saw that also going back to your roots and restaurant. It's a hard life being in the restaurant business. Then now the question is like, why? What convinced you I should test this? Because obviously for you was also a step of faith to go in this direction because you didn't know what you know today.
Yeah.
Today, if you would be like, yes, let's do it. I know it's gonna work. But at that time, you were like probably anyone else, like don't know what this take. I'm not really sure if it is gonna work. And then there is not so much hype like when you think about real estate. Like everyone speak about real estate. Everyone can say real estate makes you money. It's the best investment. Even if actually there are so many other people that also had problem with real estate. It doesn't work for everyone. So, yeah, I want to understand like yeah, how it became what was your why and what convinced you to go to this direction.
Yeah, my why was very basic. My why was, time freedom. Obviously, we all wanna make money in owning a business, but time freedom, the opposite of what we had at the restaurant. The restaurant was long hours, nights, weekends, holidays. We wanted to start a family, so I wanted to be home for them. My why was to become, we. It's funny. I signed the franchise agreement. 3 days later, we found out my wife was pregnant. We were starting a family. My son Luca was born later in that year. So that was my. I had to make it work. We're down to one income, baby on the way. So that was some great motivation. But in all seriousness, my why was time freedom and the family to be able to spend what good is all the money in the world if you have no time to spend it? So my when people say how successful were you, and I said, well, I'm really successful. Maybe I'm not a billionaire, or like you hear some of these celebrities, but I became a soccer coach when Luca turned 4 and never missed a soccer game. To me, that's success. My daughter wasn't into sports. Girl Scouts, things like that, art shows, and we never missed that because why? Because my why is my family and time. So when I'm actually looking at my Google Calendar on my left screen, and I see all the colors and my why or I prioritize things. So I put my rocks on the calendar, stuff for school, work. I'm sorry, dropping off the kids at work, I should say. Date night with my wife, or if we're grabbing lunch, birthday, everything is on there. And then I open it up to anyone else that wants to, to get together, or work, or things like that. So that was really it. It wasn't about becoming rich. It was really just about being able to work from home. And that the mindset, going back to what you were saying, was I nervous? Did I looked up every day and I said, this has to work, or I'm gonna be in big trouble here. And it's really a mindset shift of I'm gonna make it work and I'm gonna give it everything I have. I'm gonna burn the bridges. I didn't leave on bad terms, but when you work in financial services on the investment side, you lose your licensing. They expire if you're not in that industry. So I was not going to take any of those tests again. There were, 3 or 4 tests there. So I made a commitment to making it work, giving everything I had. And I was unstoppable in that. Did we hit all revenue goals? We were pretty close. I mean, we almost did $1 million I'm sorry, $750,000 in revenue in 9 months. And we really just went in, saying, not necessarily, I don't care about profitability per se the first year. I want a building year. Did everything I could. That was my goal. Build it, hire the right team, hire people better than me, get the marketing and everything in place. So go in with the mindset. If you go with the mindset, is it may or may not work. I think that's the wrong mindset. You're going to go and saying, it's going to work. Should you be cautious? Sure. You're going to do due diligence. You're not going in this blind, but you're never going to be 100%. I help people every single day invest in businesses. You're like 90, 95%. There's always going to be that fear factor, and it's normal. The jitters in your stomach is fear, is excitement, and it's anxiety all wrapped up in your belly. That's totally fine. It's totally normal. You're going to have good days and bad days. It's okay. You kind of expect it. But man, when I look back at the opportunity of working from home and everything, I get to enjoy taking vacation whenever I see fit. It's a decision that I don't regret. I was made fun of when I left. People thought I was crazy leaving a 6-figure job, and this is 20 years ago, plus bonus and commission and everything else, to make much less and work much harder that first year. I got laughed at. What's funny, as a year goes by, a lot of my old colleagues had contacted me, taking a look at franchises. So it's a great story. But I will say for everyone listening, it is a lot of work. There's definitely an investment. There's definitely a risk. There's none of this, you're guaranteed anything. It's a business. There's going to be risk, or else it wouldn't be called a business. But it's totally worth it. But if you don't have that why, and you have some horrible weeks or months and things like that, you got to go back to that why and remind yourself of why you're doing it, or else you're going to fall apart, potentially fail, and then go back to the workforce. So I encourage everyone to at least give it a shot. If you want to contact me, have a few questions, maybe the timing isn't right, you can always reach out and go directly to my website.
Yeah, that's thank you very much for sharing that. I think that's the biggest part of the same reason I started my own business. Is because, well, part was because I wanted to stay in the US, but I wanted to stay in the US because I had a girlfriend that now is my wife, and I need to find a reason to stay, a way to stay, get a visa, and I don't want to be always the type of person that I wait for to get married, to get the green card and everything. I mean, yes, we got married and I got the green card 100%. But even before that, I already applied for a different visa because I opened my business. I was like, is it gonna work? It's like, you say like I didn't have option at that time. There was no really option, and my priority was to be able to stay with my wife, with my now wife, my girlfriend, and I made it work. And then after that, I'm always happy because even now with the 1 year old, I'm able to work from home. Like if the morning I want to spend more time with him and less time working, I can do that. I can decide in the morning I'm not gonna have meeting. I move everything in the afternoon, and that's totally fine.
That's awesome. We live once. You want to enjoy it as much as you can. And how do you enjoy it when you're working 100 hours a week? And you're making money, but it's what good is it when you're forced to take a vacation because you're so burnt out from work. So it's a different approach. It's kind of a different mindset. It's some unlearning of things maybe you learned over the years, but it's for everyone listening in. At least give yourself a shot. You don't need to be Shaq. You don't need to be worth millions of dollars. Realistically, what do you need? You know, you need to put down a down payment on a loan. So that's, 20, 40, $50,000 maybe down, covering a franchise fee, getting an SBA loan, using retirement, using a home equity line of credit. You don't have to be rich, but at the same time, you want to make sure you have money. If you're quitting your job, I was a financial advisor prior to this. You want to make sure that you have money to pay your student loans or your mortgage or your rent or whatever you have, and have at least 6 months living expense. So have some money aside. Figure out what the business is going to cost. In a worst case scenario, the business takes a little bit longer to get up and running. Do you have that buffer? Do you have access to the funds, the loan, things like that? But bare minimum, the internet podcasts are great, but make a decision that you want change. Talk to someone that has been in your position, not that knows about franchising, that actually own a franchise, that actually ran a business, and start there. And that way you kind of every day you set a goal to talk to a different person, figure out your why, do an internal audit, get your finances together. Once you do all that, you're in a much better. You're now in a spot where you're like, okay, I got my information. I do understand the risks and everything else involved. But what about now the potential? And what this thing can look like. So that's my advice to everyone listening in. Get everything in order. Let the family know why you're doing it, especially if you have young kids. At the time we didn't have kids, but letting them know if you do have kids, mom and dad are doing this. Maybe a busy first year, but we're doing it so we can come to all your events, join the PTO at the school, go to the soccer games, become a coach, whatever it is, and have that clear and write it down because I look at my goals, my why every single day. It's on Google Sheets. I can share it. Way back when I worked with a business coach, we kind of worked on that idea so it was live for changes, but have that reminder in front of you, and subconsciously, I think it comes to fruition because it's a constant reminder of your mind doesn't know reality and what's not reality, so it's that constant reminder of what you're looking to build. And I'm a firm believer. I was a little skeptical at first, but now that I remind myself every day and I look at the life I have, I truly believe in that.
Yeah, 100%. That was part of a previous podcast I recorded. Same thing, like what you speak in your life, what you tell yourself, what you put in your mind makes a difference. It's like if you are negative, the things you read are negative. Your mind is already negative. Like as a human being, we the first thing come to our mind is always the bad. It's never the good. Like we always think about whatever we look, how bad can go. Like we never think like how good can go or like how good could be. Like the first thing is like how really bad can be. And it's like you don't need that. You don't need to actually read things or watch things that have your mind to be even worse. Just actually write stuff that encourage you, like motivates you, like give that push that you need. Speak life to you. That's a thing. It's a big thing. And yeah, I want to really thank you for most of this also last part because I want to show people that's a reality. Like obviously comes with sacrifice. Even I mean the Bible itself. Think about like anything in the Bible. I would say like came with the sacrifice. Even God, the only way to God to come closer to us is to sacrifice His Son. Like He had to make sacrifice through all the Bible to be able to have continual conversation with us. And we always think that the best in our life is gonna come without sacrifice or like it's gonna be a like choice. Even like choice can open one door, but like it doesn't mean that not gonna have any other things happen in between. Like you can start great. I know people that have started a business, they've done great at the beginning, and then in the middle something really bad happened, a bad lawsuit or like something other bad things. And sooner or later it's gonna come. Like there's gonna be a reason. And even if you work for other company, yes, it's awesome because you get that, you have a paycheck monthly, but you also don't know when they're gonna fire you. COVID comes again. I remember when COVID came, like I was an employee at that time. I was working for a business. There were so many people that got fired during that things. Like who would have guessed? Like I was thinking during that month I might be get fired. Honestly, who knows? Like you don't never know what they're thinking is important or is not important in their business, and you might get fired. Look at the IBM; they fired I don't know, man, thousands of people from between HR and because of AI coming because they put AI instead of them.
Yeah, you got to protect yourself. Yeah, it's multiple income streams. And I invest in the stock market. That's what I was brought up on. Business. Some people keep their jobs. Some people kind of have a couple side hustles. Not a bad idea. I kind of look at business ownership as a safety net that you can create. What happens if you lose your job? Maybe you get a little severance, a couple months pay. After that, you're done. You're completely cut off from the business. So a business can protect you so that in the next layoff, COVID, obviously no one could have predicted that. But there are layoffs to come with AI. Franchises are using and spending millions of dollars on AI. There are a lot of franchises now where they're able to cut their staff by half because it's automated. All the intro calls and things and scheduling. I do the same thing on my end. I don't charge for our services. I got to keep the business really lean. But there are franchises where they got rid of reception because people just want to do it on their apps and they can do that. And it's 24/7. And that AI chat feature can handle, I think, 5,000 calls at the same time. I mean, not what I use, but the more of the robust platform. So they can schedule for the entire country one AI bot. So it's pretty amazing the technology. So I think, protect yourself. Uh, Businesses, I don't think like laying off people, but you got to be profitable, especially if you're public, right? You got to show your shareholders earnings. So not that it's expected or not that you are thinking of potentially losing your job, but prepare yourself. Maybe look at a business, look at, real estate syndication, whatever it may be for some additional revenue streams. And at the end of the day, one is not better than the other. You're really looking at time involvement, real estate syndication versus owning your own real estate versus a franchise. There's going to be a different time commitment to them all. There's going to be a different control, different things like that. So, definitely do your homework. And just like my Uncle Warren Buffett says, invest in what you understand. If you don't invest in Bitcoin, I don't invest in it. I don't understand it. I'm not against it, but I would never invest in anything that I don't really understand completely. And if you do invest in it, or I should say, understand and believe in it, more power to you. Invest in it, and but do your homework. You don't have to. The biggest thing is you have to invest in gold and commodities and stock market and mutual funds and Bitcoin. You don't have to invest in all it. Invest in a few buckets, double down investing in yourself if you're going to run that business. And I can guarantee you're going to see returns you're going to have to put in the time and the effort, but you'll see the returns. But don't go in and kind of half, "Oh, I'm gonna dip my toe in it." No, you're gonna jump into the pool, you're gonna make it work. For those people that wanna buy a franchise and kinda dabble in it, it's not gonna work. At the end of the day, you have a system that you need to run. Kind of prioritize what you want in life and going back to, what your whys are, and that's a great, really good starting point.
Yes, thank you very much for that. And we are close to the end, and I want to really thank you for everything. Also for the motivation you have given to people, and also to the direction. I would say 100%. It's all in at the end of the day. It's not like poker. Uh, Here, like when you go in business and everything, you either like don't go it or you go it. You cannot be in the middle. It's not gonna like if you're in the middle, you're gonna lose the money 100%. Like there's a higher chance. I mean, also you don't have always like you were saying before to leave your job. You can also change just part time, but knowing that if you do part time, probably it's gonna take longer in your new adventure to go faster. Because like when you have all your time and you know that there's another way to make money, that's how I see it. You're gonna go really fast. You're gonna really put all yourself.
And you're not gonna be distracted, right? It's not like, "Oh, I gotta check into work for 4 hours. I can't work on the business," or, "I have to go travel now for a conference for work." You're not gonna have any of that, so you can really dedicate. And you're pretty, dangerous, person that's 100% committed and focused. I look back sometimes, I look back in those days, like, how did I do it? I was focused. I was distraction free. My wife and I were on the same page. I didn't make a decision on my own, and I was just focused on that one goal. And that goes a long way. You'll be shocked at what you can accomplish when you're distraction free. Hire the team in place to handle the admin stuff. You shouldn't be responding to every email and scheduling your stuff on the calendar. Let someone else do that and focus on what moves the needle forward. And that was sales and relationships in our business. So
Nice, awesome. Thank you again. Thank you very much. For everyone listening, I'm leaving your information that you put on the form inside the description for people to be able to contact you, to get in touch with you through email and everything. And I want to thank you again to be part of my podcast. And for everyone that has questions for Giuseppe, please leave in the comment and we bring him back. We're gonna ask more questions. Maybe have a second part of this discussion. We will love it. And if everyone wants that, please leave a comment, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. because like as you've seen, we are having so many great guests and with great information. It's gonna not just motivate you to do more and to go the direction you want, but also give you like the reason, the why. It's gonna show you like you did exactly like this is a great why that many other people might be in exactly the same now, starting a family, just married, and they're like, yes, I want to spend more time. Exactly like you. There is a time where you have to make a jump. It can be today, or you can wait 10, 20 years and live with the regret. That's different at the end. Again, thank you very much, Giuseppe, to be part of this podcast. I really enjoy it. I enjoyed hear myself calling my name, but in the US, I would say your name so many times just because it's like it's so rare to be able to say, not just to tell people my name because I a lot of
No, well, first off, I appreciate the invite. It was a lot of fun, and in the at least growing up, we always got in the Italian tradition. We were named after my mother's father, so my grandfather on my mother's side. In our case, my grandparents, my grandfathers got lucky because they were both Giuseppe, so it was a win-win. So they were thrilled. So it was there was no competition who should be named after. So it worked out really well. But yeah, no, it was a pleasure. Looking forward to chatting again, and I really appreciate the invite.
thank you very much, and everyone else, have a great day. Have a blessed day.